Good afternoon, Eagles. This is Dr. Chalfant coming to you with another book that I'm going to be reading. I appreciated all of you that have listened to the story last week and even came to me in school to let me know where you thought I was. So the answer to the last week's question was I was in Chelsea, Michigan at a lake called Crooked Lake. This week, I come to you with a book called The Kissing Hand by Audrey Penn. It's illustrated by Ruth Harper and Nancy M. Leake. So looking at this cover, what do we think this book might be about? When I look at this cover, I notice this big yellow circle right there. I wonder what that might be. You think it might be the sun? Well, this dark blue is here, and there's raccoons, so this looks like it might be nighttime. So I'm guessing that might be the moon. I notice that there are two raccoons, a big raccoon and a small raccoon. Looks like these might be our two main characters in this book. So this book is called The Kissing Hand, and it's about a young raccoon named Chester who does not want to leave home, or his mother named Mrs. Raccoon. Before you read, think about a time when you did not want to leave home or even go to school. You ever felt like that? Like you didn't want to go to school? Sometimes the first day of school is like that. And that's something we've all experienced, I think, from time to time. Hopefully you're excited about coming next week. But let's look across a couple of the pages and we're going to take a picture walk. Here you'll see Chester outside. And it looks like it's daytime right here. It looks like there's some other insects. There's a ladybug. Or it looks like that might be a beetle right there. Let's look really close. You see really close right here? What do you notice on Chester's face? Right, that might be a tear. I wonder if Chester might be sad. Let's keep looking. So when we're looking across these pages like this, we're predicting what we think this book might be about, but we're also shown the different settings of the book. So it looks like they're inside of a tree, they're on top of the tree, it looks like a book is being read. It says ABC book. I wonder, have you ever read a book like that at school? Looks like they're in a sandbox, then they're swinging on a swing. You know, something that good readers do, they make connections with the books that they're reading. And here I can make a text-to-self connection because this reminds me of the swing that I swung on while I was at my grandpa's. My dad pushed me so hard that I fell off and I bumped my head. I actually have a scar on the back of my head. If you ever want to see it, just ask. So this book is called The Kissing Hand by Audrey Penn. And while you're reading today, I want you to try and make connections with the book. And then while we're finished, we'll share what our connections might be. Also, there's a page in this book where you get to learn something new about raccoons. Sometimes books that are fiction, like this book, because animals are going to be talking to each other, they'll include real facts for you to learn. So let's go ahead and read The Kissing Hand and learn all about Chester. Chester Raccoon stood at the edge of the forest and cried. "I don't want to go to school," he told his mother. "I want to stay home with you. I want to play with my friends and play with my toys and read my books and swing on my swing. Please, may I stay at home with you?" Sounds like Chester might be a little upset. Mrs. Raccoon took Chester by the hand and nuzzled him on the ear. "Sometimes we all have to do things we don't want to do," she told him gently, "even if they seem strange and scary at first. But you will love school once you start." Have you ever had to do anything that you did not want to do? You know, as you get older, sometimes people talk about working out, and sometimes it's hard to get started and motivated to work out. But I've always learned that, you know, when you do go to the gym or you work out, you never really regret that. You'll make new friends and play with new toys. Read new books and swing on new swings. Besides, she added, I know a wonderful secret that will make your nights at school seem as warm and cozy as your days at home. It sounds like Mrs. Raccoon might have a secret that will help Chester get through school. What do you think that secret might be? You know something else that I noticed that just sounds weird reading? It says, I know a wonderful secret that will make your nights at school seem as warm and cozy as your days at home. Do you go to school at night? I wonder how that is the same or different as Chester. Sounds like he might go to school at night, and I don't really know why yet. Chester wiped away his tears and looked interested. A secret? What kind of secret? A very old secret, said Mrs. Raccoon. I learned it from my mother. She learned it from hers. It's called the kissing hand. The kissing hand? Asked Chester. What's that? You'll notice that Chester is still outside, and this time there are lots of insects around. Can you name some of those? I'll show you. Mrs. Raccoon took Chester's left hand and spread open his tiny fingers into a fan. Leaning forward, she kissed Chester right in the middle of his palm. Chester felt his mother's kiss rush from his hand, up his arm, and into his heart. Even his silky black mask tingled with a special warmth. The author told us a lot on that page, and if you hold your hand out like this, you'll know that Mrs. Raccoon kissed Chester right here, and he felt it go all the way up his arm and into his heart right there. And it said that he even felt it in his mask. Do raccoons wear masks? No, but it looks like they might right there. Mrs. Raccoon smiled. Now, she told Chester, whenever you feel lonely and need a little loving from home, just press your hand to your cheek and think, Mommy loves you. Mommy loves you. And that very kiss will jump to your face and fill you with toasty, warm thoughts. Do you think Chester will feel better? Let's find out. She took Chester's hand and carefully wrapped his fingers around the kiss. Now do be careful not to lose it, she teased him. But don't worry, when you open your hand and wash your food, I promise the kiss will stick. So looking here, notice that the colors of the trees are beginning to change. So what time of year do you think it is? Do you think it might be wintertime, summertime, springtime, or even fall time? And you'll also notice that there are a lot of animals out now, too. I think it's probably fall time if he's getting ready to go to school. Chester loved his kissing hand. Now he knew his mother's love would go with him wherever he went, even to school. So we know at the beginning of the book that Chester felt really nervous and scared. How do you think he feels now? That night, Chester stood in front of his school and looked thoughtful. Suddenly, he turned to his mother and grinned. Give me your hand, he said. Earlier when we read, I told you that we were going to learn something about raccoons, and this is the page that kind of added on to what we read earlier. So he's getting ready to go to school, and it's nighttime. Do we know why? Well, there are some animals like raccoons that are awake during nighttime and they sleep during the day. Do you know what this is called? This is called nocturnal. Can you say nocturnal for me? That means they're awake at night and sleep during the day. This page, something important happened. Chester said, give me your hand. What do you think Chester might do to his mom's hand? Do you think parents might ever be worried when their kids are at school or when their kids are away? I think you'll be surprised. Sometimes your parents are. Chester took his mother's hand into his own and unfolded her large, familiar fingers into a fan. Next, he leaned forward and kissed the center of her hand. Looks like Chester might be helping out his mom the same way that she helped him out. And you'll notice here that there are a few more animals on this page at night. I wonder if these animals are also nocturnal. Just know that sometimes good readers will look at the pictures to help them learn new things, and I think that might be what the illustrator is trying to do there. They're telling us about animals that are also nocturnal that we wouldn't have known if we hadn't looked at the pictures. "Now you have a kissing hand too," he told her with a gentle goodbye, "and I love you." Chester turned and danced away. Wow, look at all of these animals on this page, and I wonder if that means they're all nocturnal. Here's a skunk, a fox, a frog. Looks like some bunny rabbits there. Oh, what kind of black bird might that be? Or is that a bird? Looks like it might be a bat. Is a bird a kind of bat? Or do they just fly like birds? If you know, let me know. Mrs. Raccoon watched Chester scamper across a tree limb and enter school. And as the hoot owl rang in the new school year, she pressed her left hand to her cheek and smiled. The warmth of Chester's kiss filled her heart with special words. "Chester loves you," it sings. "Chester loves you." So looking at this page, who is Chester's teacher? Do we know what kind of animal? Looks like the teacher might be the owl. Whoa, look at that. This looks like it's Chester's school. Look at all of these different kinds of animals. How many do you see? And what kinds of animals do you see there? Should we look at some? Looks like this might be a deer or a fawn. Looks like these are baby possum. Looks like that might be a mouse. Bunny rabbits. Looks like a little fox. A bird. There's a raccoon. There's some books. A frog. And there's his teacher right there. I love you. Go like this. This usually means I love you. So reading this story, think about some questions that we could answer by reading the story. I told you while you were listening along and while we were reading to also think about how you made a connection with this book. Was there anything in this book that you made a connection with? Tell your parents or whoever you're with about that connection. And while you're also reading, sometimes it's important for us to know who the characters were in this story. We know that there was the teacher, who was the owl. We know Chester is a character. We know that Mrs. Raccoon's a character, and all of the students in Chester's class. What was the setting? So the setting is where it takes place. And we knew that it's nighttime in a forest. At least that's where the school takes place. So another question we would ask is, what happens at the beginning of this story? And if we flip back, we remember this first page where Chester made a face right there, and it looks like water was coming out of his eyes and he was upset. So I think the beginning of this story, he was a little sad. And then thinking about why he was sad, what was the problem of the story? Well, the problem was that he was scared and didn't want to leave and go home. And he was just a little bit afraid and sad. And how was the problem solved? Do you remember what Mrs. Raccoon did? Remember, she took his hand and she gave him a kiss right there, and it's called the kissing hand, and he could put that right on his face. And what happens at the end of the story? Remember, not only did Chester go to school, Chester also gave Mrs. Raccoon something. He also gave her a kissing hand. So what I want you to take away from this book, this is actually a book that I used to read to kindergartners when I taught kindergarten. So no matter how you might feel in the morning when you go to school, just know that you have special people there who also care about you. Your teachers and your friends. And you know who else? Me. I do. You'll see me around a lot, so just know that if you need me, I'm here for you. Let's have a great week, Eagles. Good night.